All right, guys, here we are. I like to introduce Nevik here, who's an event coordinator of the event, the Winter Cup, 2021 Winter Cup. He's going to be joining me for commentary. He's up there in the top right. He's one of the event coordinators. Let's go ahead and jump in the game because they should be starting any minute. I'm going to give just a brief overview of what we're watching today. We are watching Group A in round 4. This is the money round. Whoever does well in this round is almost certainly going to go on to the semifinals in the tournament. We've got one player, Scythe, who has 9 points that he's accumulated through 4 rounds, which means he's almost certainly a lock to get through the tournament, but he's still fighting for that first seed, which creates a small advantage in semifinals. On the other hand, we have 2 players, very good players, in Joy Division and Day, who are going to be trying to get through. They each have 7 points, and we anticipate you need at least 8 points to get through to the out rounds, which means they have to either claim the challenge point or win a game, or perhaps win 2 games, or some combination of that to get to 8 or 9 points to feel good about moving on. So it's a high stakes game for some very good players, and we're really excited to watch it. For those of you who've been following the Winter Cup, the format is basically 3 different players rotate through 3 different combinations. The combinations in this round are Polania Militant, Rusviet Mechanical, and Crimea Industrial. For each game you win out of 3, you get 1 point. If you win the challenge, which is something external to the normal game, you get a point as well. The challenge in this game is to control the most forests over 3 games at the end of the game with either a worker that's all by itself or a character that's all by itself. It's called Lost in the Woods. So you got to get that character lost in the woods, or you got to get a worker lost in the woods all by himself, and whoever gets the most of those is going to walk away with the challenge point. Nevik, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
I think the only bit of clarification that maybe came up in some of the questions was you can control a forest space with your worker character even if somebody else has a building on it. The opponent's building does not violate your control of that for the challenge.
Exactly. The key is control. So things that do not affect, that are lower in the priority of control, have no effect. But if you build your own building on a space, you can no longer use that space for control because you're not solely controlling with the worker or the character. And it looks like the game just started, so we're loading it right now.
Yep, we got Scythe on Crimea Industrial, Day on Polania Militant, and Joy Division on Rusviet Mechanical.
So we have Trade for Metal, pretty standard opening for Crimea Industrial, and an immediate move out of Day, which is
Interesting.
An aggressive Polania start. Produced out of Rusviet, be expected. And I'm not used to seeing this, but I think this is not too different a Crimea start, and that is a move on turn 2. Have you seen that much, Nevik?
It's actually a version of one I've been working on as well. But moving early, I think, maybe makes sense, especially with the aggressive Polania move. If Polania pulls metal in their encounter, they can get to the factory quite quick, so maybe there's a race there.
Rusviet trades oil, which tells me they're concerned about Polania just getting that dream encounter and invading their mountain before they can get a second mech out and protect it. We got a turn 3 mech out of Crimea, out of BB.
So it's the Riverwalk mech. Do you think he goes to the encounter on his next move, or do you think he goes to the oil tunnel?
Yeah, I don't know what's
he could
going
move,
on there.
He could move character to the oil tunnel and move 2 workers to the mountain with that mech, produce and get the speed mech, and move to the factory on the very next turn.
I mean, yeah, bold strategy out of BB. If I'm Polania, I'm groaning inside right now because I'm not
Except
sure.
Look at the encounter Polania just got.
Oh, that's beautiful. And with the militant board, they can take number 2 and number 3, so they're going to think about this for a minute. You can be sure they're going to take some metal.
I mean, why wouldn't they take 2 and 3 and just get their 8 metal right away?
I think they'll definitely take 2 and 3. Would you consider taking some oil here to try to get that really valuable move to deploy upgrade? One of the challenges I feel like with Militant is getting enough power, and another challenge is getting 3 metal somewhere where you can transform it into a mech. So it adds a turn, but with so many resources, would you consider taking 3 oil here and next turn bolstering into an upgrade and take that move and that deploy upgrade? Would you think about that?
I think so, but I'm also looking at, Crimea Industrial is not going to have a ton of power either.
Right.
So maybe you don't need a ton of power. Maybe you can pick up. If you could be encounter hopping, you'll probably run into power somewhere. No, they went your plan.
He did take the oil. It's a little slower, but I don't think it's bad. I think, especially with the challenge point being related to in-game movement, having that upgraded movement where you can move 3 units per turn just seems to me to be very valuable.
Yeah. And Joy Division gets his upgrading move to deploy. So here we go. Where's Crimea move? Crimea has to be not real happy about the encounter that Polania pulled. I mean, they can still beat them to the factory if they want. But I think if you do that move, if you do the river walk right away to the oil tunnel, and you bring 2 workers to the mountain to be able to produce and deploy next turn, you're kind of hurting your long-term economy because you're stuck at 3 workers.
And they don't do that. Maybe sensing, I haven't done the math, but is Polania going to win the race to the factory here? Here's the bolster and the upgrade. We'll see maybe a move action or even a gain action for that extra coin if they're happy with where their workers are. So they're on the factory in 2 turns. So with that encounter that Polania got, Crimea has officially lost the race to the factory, I think. Because they're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 turns to Polania's 2 turns. So even if they'd moved like you said last turn, they may still have lost the race to the factory. So
yep.
Crimea may be regretting their opening right now because it looks like they were committing to that factory start. But I think this is still a viable opening for them, so I don't think they've wrecked themselves too much. The thing now is they're so ahead of their mechs, so they're going to be doing essentially empty produces with no bottom row actions before they can get all those enlists, assuming they still are going for them.
I mean, they might not. So interesting that Polania did the gain action there and deploy rather than moving. I kind of like moving a mech and the character to that lake there and leaving a mech on that lake, because now with your move actions or a factory action, you can put that mech anywhere, and then you're really putting pressure on Russia there on their mountain hex.
Right.
Whereas I suppose they can do that in the next move to the factory. You can move a mech to any lake at that point. Right. But it left that open to both move to the factory and come after Russia's metal.
I think they may be looking at the fact that Rustviet already has a medal on that mountain and an upgraded deploy. So Rustviet can have a mech on that mountain in 2 turns.
Sure.
And Polania is still 2 turns away from the factory.
Yeah. Crimea just got a great encounter.
Oh, I missed it.
They got an enlist from their encounter, and they took the central village encounter, which is 1 fewer than for Polania to get, and then their home base encounter is still available for later if they get sent back.
I wondered if this would happen. I wonder if Crimea was going to go to producing some oil and trying to go for some upgrades. One thing that would do for them is that would give them more power, and if they can get even just 1 upgrade on that enlist, it means that with a trade for 2 food and using 1 combat card, they can grab an enlist without having to produce produce food at all. So conceivably, once their mechs are out, even with one upgrade, they could oscillate basically between moving and enlisting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other reason you do this as Crimea is you don't want to produce more workers before you produce one more mech. And this is the most advantageous spot to be on the board, because with Riverwalk and Speed, you threaten Ruthviet's encounter. You have 2 units you can threaten the factory with. You're about to deploy Scout. Like, you're in a good situation here as Crimea.
Do you bring 2 mechs to this factory if you're Polania? You're even with Crimea on power. You have 5 combat cards, so even if they scout you still have plenty left. Crimea does not have an upgraded move yet.
I mean, Polania could bring character and a mech with a worker to the factory and then stick a worker on that oil tunnel to ensure that you can't be facing a 2v1 on the factory.
That throws off their path to 8 workers a little bit, though, doesn't it?
Yep, definitely. And you probably want, I mean, obviously you want the worker star, but if there's any game to have extra workers to be leaving around on forests, this is that kind of game.
Right. The move to the factory that we expected. See what these factory cards are. So far, the RNG has been kind to Polania.
I'll say.
Oh, the factory block with the second mech. 2 mechs.
Oh, with 2 mechs.
So right now, Crimea is frustrated, I would think. I mean, if they were worried about combats... Oh, gee. Do we see the upgrade from Crimea next turn to get the triple move, maybe?
I think so.
Oh. I forgot to lock my shutter. My camera's cut out for a second. Let's fix that, guys. Okay, we should be good now.
So what factory card do you look for here if you're Polania? Enlist? Or something that gets you resources, right? Like the 1 combat card for 3 resources?
I think the enlist one is good, and that's what they got. And they're out of popularity, so the 2 coin for an enlist and a power is a great one for them to get. Ruthviet interestingly choosing to put this second mech on the village instead of on the mountain, which is what I would have expected. Okay, and here's that upgrade that I mentioned, probably going from move to enlist, I would think.
That seems logical.
Though he does seem to be thinking about it. Oh, I'm a bit quiet.
Yeah, you're move to deploy.
Okay, I can... Do I turn down Nevik or do I turn myself up?
Maybe I'm just a loud talker. Polania using their factory card right away. And they enlisted for the power bonus.
Okay, that should be better on my volume. Let me know if that's okay. Alex asks who this game. Alex, we have BB Scythe on Industrial Crimea, we have Joy Division on Ruthviet Mechanical, and we have Daykiller on Polania Militant.
Ooh, Polania went to go steal Ruthviet's counter. That's a bit of an interesting move, because that spot is threatened then by both Crimea and Ruthviet.
You take the food here and risk it getting stolen? It's almost a wasted.
Stolen.
It's a wasted encounter if you don't.
And you don't have the pop for the structure. I mean, he got $2 in the pop and kept it from Ruthviet, but yeah, probably not what he wanted to see here.
Hey Joey, yes, this is game 1.
Yeah, he didn't bother with the food.
Yeah. That's the risk of stealing an encounter from somebody like Ruthviet, or basically going to any encounter that's not a safe area. What you're hoping there is for a bottom row action on number 3 that you can take. But, I mean, Polania had to foresee that it was going to be hard to do that with no popularity coming into the encounter. Oh, wow. We got Rusviet electing to pull a mine on that farm space, which I think is an amazing choice because both these other combinations can be faster than Polania or than Rusviet Mechanical, surprisingly enough. So that mine gives Rusviet an opportunity to intercede in the board much quicker than they would have otherwise.
Also, look at all the forests it opens up for them.
All right, double scout on Polania.
Oof.
Yeah, Joey, Polania got 8 resources. The 8 resources encounter. How's it going, Nun? Welcome to the stream.
Who do you think is in the best position right now, Fomov?
Well, the score is pretty darn close. Oh, wow. For me, I just got a really cheap combat.
I gotta say, I think Rusviet's probably in the best position.
Yeah, let's see. Let's
as
check
long as the
bottom
game
row
doesn't go
actions.
too quick.
Polania's got essentially 4 bottom row actions out of the 8 that they need, assuming they can find their combats. The one thing
Yeah, I guess.
that makes me think Polania might be in a little trouble is there's still just 3 workers, which that's the Polania trap, right? Is there's just so much to do between encounters and the factory card and bottom row actions that you neglect that worker production, and then you find yourself in turn 11 or turn 12 and you can't spread because you have no workers out.
Yeah, 3 workers and right now no path to metal.
So Crimea is already locked in. Polania is giving this combat a lot of thought. I kind of think this is one they want to win, but they don't.
Wow. I thought so too, because you want to keep that factory block on.
For me,
I changed my mind. I think Crimea is in the best position now. I didn't think they were going to win both. Crimea is a produce away from 2 more stars with Worker Star and Mech Star. Then you move to the factory.
and you can get an objective assuming you have one, but what is your last star? You're 3 enlists away. Polania probably took the only enlist factory card just by the numbers.
Likely. So then maybe you hope for an upgrade, whether through an encounter or the factory, to upgrade that enlist. So you can trade an enlist and hopefully maybe pick up an enlist through an encounter.
Polania moving to wood. I don't think that indicates they're going for buildings. I think that's just an indication.
I think that's the point for the challenge.
Exactly.
So I'm coming over to threaten Crimea too on the lake here, which I think is smart.
Too little too late though. There's going to be a mech there if Crimea wants it.
Yeah.
Okay, 2 popularity gain $2 into any 2 resources. That's great. They can pull metal and drop their 3rd mech.
Yeah, that was an amazing encounter for Polania.
It's what they were looking for. They wanted metal off of that.
Well, not only that, but then their deploy is upgraded now to only 2 metal, so you can trade and move again and get your last deploy. That was huge. And they can even move to that other encounter up there in Albion Village. Rusviet starting on their enlists. Interesting that they took the bonus from the enlist. I mean, I know they need combat cards. You're going to see, another mech right away here from Crimea. I think I would have considered taking the deploy bonus first from the enlist if I was Rusviet. So Crimea up to 4 stars. Interesting, they did not put a mech on the mountain here. Maybe they're not so concerned about losing those workers. They'll rather just be able to spread here off this village tunnel.
You gotta produce here if you're Polania, don't you? I mean, you're at 3 workers. It's turn 10.
I don't understand. Oh, I guess they can river walk then to that other encounter.
You can spread out. You can use your factory card to spread out. I mean, Okay, 2 combat cards. Oh, this is good for Polania. The 2 popularity and then number 3 makes getting your combats much more viable than it was even just a minute ago.
Yep.
Hey, Chuck.
Yeah, I think short of getting resources, this is what you want to see as Polania.
And they don't really even need resources off the encounter, right? Because they've got their factory card taking care of their enlist, and they're just 2 metal short of their last mech,
Well,
which
that's
they
what
can
I say.
trade for.
It would have been nice to pull 2 metal there.
Sure.
Saves a turn for trading.
But now you have 9 power and 8 combat cards, which means Scout does nothing to you, basically. And you can get combats off of probably anyone you want. You're not.
So this time Rusty had upgraded or enlisted deployed. Yes, you're right. You can get combats. Although, as soon as Rusty deploys People's Army, that'll become tougher.
For sure. Let's find out what else is in that factory.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck, I'm glad you like the streaming format. You just like BB locking down some of these wood spaces now.
Yep.
Which I think is a good call. That's a high concentration of forests over there. He's going to have to spend another action moving that mech out of there by either using a factory card to riverwalk to Polania's base, which he might do, or using a triple move to drop one of those workers on the forest spot and just move the mech out. Check in on the score while they're picking the... Right now, Crimea with a 27 coin lead and leading the challenge right now. Crimea dominating. I'm just concerned about how long it's going to take them to end.
They got another enlist factory card.
And that's actually not a bad one for Crimea. It's hard to use because you have to pay 2 different resources. But for Crimea, all they need is 1 resource and a combat card. Now they only have 1 combat card.
I don't understand this move from Polania. You move without the metal for your last deploy to encounter. I think I would have traded for metal first.
They get bailed out though.
Jeez.
Maybe they figured they just had to take the risk. The way Crimea is eating up the board.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, right now Crimea is 31 coins ahead, but I mean that's a delicate lead right now. I wouldn't count Rusviet out of this.
No.
The combats are going to be pretty easy for Rusviet to pick up. The non-enlist Crimea and the enlist factory card out of Polania they have combined to put Rusviet fairly low on combat cards though.
Yeah, although they were just able to gain 3 more combat cards.
Oh, they hadn't taken the combat card bonus yet. Good eye. This Rusviet starts with 3.
Does Crimea steal Rusviet's metal here? I guess they won't do a factory move without doing the enlist, and they don't have the resources to do it. So probably not.
What are their options here? You can't get the enlist off the factory card.
No, I think you got to trade, right? Because you can't produce because you have no pop.
I mean, the other option is to just use the factory card movement to spread into Polania's base there, or Wayfare out.
Won't you trade first to get the resources to then at least get that bottom row enlist off the factory card? I mean, otherwise you have no path to 6 stars, and you're not going to be able to hold on. You're certainly not going to be able to hold on to the factory forever. You're not going to be able to hold on to that point lead forever.
Yeah, they're going to take the trade like you suggested. It just feels slow to me.
Sure, but then the trade sets you up to use a factory card, do something else that's not trading, and use a factory card again if you want to use those combat cards for the enlist.
Yeah,
I mean, you're out of cards.
I don't disagree with you that it's good to have those resources for the factory card use. I feel like if Crimea had maybe taken that upgrade on the enlist earlier rather than on the deploy, they could have dropped an extra card on that mech at the end there. Hey,
Yeah.
Pfeiffer, welcome to the stream. It's been a while. But having done it the way they did, it's just going to take significantly longer to
They did not spend their combat card. And they only have one. But they didn't spend it for their factory enlist action.
None thinks this is the fastest move. You mean going with the trade, None? Yeah, we see the factory use out of Crimea for enlist number 2.
They have to hope to pick one up in an encounter. You either want resources or a combat card ain't bad. Or 2 combat cards. But I would have loved to see any resource here because you could use resources with combat cards for additional factory moves.
For sure.
Where combat cards help. That's one where now I bet they're kicking themselves for not using 1 resource and 1 factory card for the or 1 resource and 1 combat card for the factory move enlist.
None, I think he burned both resources so that he could None made a good point, and that is if he'd used the combat card and the oil, he could then have traded for the enlist. But he couldn't have done that, None, if he hadn't actually picked up combat cards, because he only had 1 CC. So unless he attacked somebody and scouted them, he wouldn't actually have been able to trade for food and use the 1 food on the board. See what I'm saying? Because he would have been out of combat cards after spending the oil in the combat card.
Check out what Polania just did. They put 2 mechs on their farm there, then trying to short circuit Crimea's invasion into their base.
Yeah.
Knowing Crimea wanted to pick up a worker, drop it on that forest, and then come into their base. So if they do that, they're going to hand a combat to Polania.
I don't know if they see it, but if Rusviet can use the mine to get to that Polania's village and then township to their forest. Now, I'm not sure if Rusviet's concerned enough about Polania right now to be stamping them down. Polania is sitting on 1 star and only 1 wood space to Crimea's 2 woods. Well, 1 wood space.
Just 1 right now.
But they're set up to pull 2 more with 1 move action if they're so inclined. All right, two factory cards left. Let's see what Rusviet's able to pull.
For a factory card?
Let's look at their bottom row actions. A mech factory card would be nice. They could use it once without without trading for metal, because right now they're going to be a metal short.
Well, they still have a move left, so they might be moving to metal here.
It's true.
Or maybe they stick a worker on that other metal space so they have enough food for their...
3 villages here, maybe?
They might just be kicking Crimea workers and setting up to take their own wood. Right, because now Russ is set up to take a couple wood spots.
Mm-hmm. And drop 1 on that forest below the lake next to the factory while attacking the Crimea character.
Oh, Russ needs popularity here. So that's actually a great card they just pulled to get him a pop to be able to get their last produce for their last enlist.
There's another trade.
Yeah. Do we think Crimea has an objective?
It's only round 14, but this just... Crimea now has the combat cards to do what None suggested, which is use the oil and a combat card, saving the enlist, so they can get their enlist now in turn. They can get their enlist by turn 16, and if they can pull an objective on that last enlist move, Rusviet now within 3 coins and Polania within what did I say, 4? Yeah. This is a close game. Polania just with only 2 stars in round 14 on that militant board. It's still 1 enlist short of their 3rd star, and notably no combats, despite having a chance to pick one up earlier in a 2v1 versus Crimea and keep them off the factory earlier.
Yeah. I mean, you have an opportunity as Polania here to use your factory card, move, use the mine you just built, and go hit Rustviet on that forest tunnel.
Here's the move I was talking about. Drop the worker on the forest, move to the mountain to attack the Crimea character.
Yep.
None pointing out that Crimea can factory card move spread worker to the forest on the left side of the board and Wayfarer to the Nordic forest.
Yeah, but then
you'd still only have the 2 because it'd be the mech on the forest without you'd have to leave the worker behind to take the forest encounter. The Rustviet now with 2 forests, 2 workers lost in the woods, so to speak. Polani with 4 workers on that forest, no lost in the woods. For me, it was 0.
And looking at the possible encounter option or objective options, I'm not sure Crimea has anything they could turn in anytime soon. Right, they would have turned in foundations already earlier had they had it. They're not at Get Rich. They're nowhere near Common Man. They don't have power. They don't have enough of any single land space for geography-based ones.
Rustviet just spent a lot of power in combat cards.
Oh, they turned in objective too.
So we're seeing Rustviet 1 mech short and 1 enlist short.
What objective did Russ have?
I missed
Probably diversified production.
That's a good guess.
I think that's about all they can have. That or 3 tunnels.
Yeah, none. He could have 3 forests. Crimea. Bump a Rustviet worker off this tunnel.
Interesting that Crimea used a regular move action. I guess he's going to pick up a forest there.
Take the factory back from Rustviet. This is the cheapest combat you're ever going to get. 1 power. Take the factory back. And Russ has 1 power, no combat cards, so what are they going to do about it? The 12-point swing to put Crimea back slightly in the lead.
Yeah. And then you're hoping for an enlist from this encounter.
Rustviet choosing to spend the power, which they can get a power and a pop back with their factory card.
Yeah.
Wood and 1 popularity for Crimea. They can build a building if they so desire with that wood.
Or they use it for their factory card. Use resources for that.
Oh yeah, that's probably the better move. Although they just need... No, they still need 2 enlists, right?
What's the build bonus? Neighbor Lakes? They could they build a building on... Oh, you don't want to build a building on the forest. The best spot to have for ruins their challenge point.
Exactly right. You go for that one of those farms, I guess, are your best options.
Yeah.
Probably, I'd say maybe a mine on that farm, so if you get something sent at home, you can get it back on the board quicker.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh no, he built on the forest.
What? He didn't listen to us. I suppose maybe he's saying I'd rather have was that 6 points? No, 4 points from the build bonus. So an extra 2 points versus building on the farm versus taking the challenge, or maybe just forgot.
Unless
that's a lot to think about.
Unless you're ending, I don't think those 2 points are worth the forest. Just
I agree, probably not. But that's also...
Oh, Polania just went to 4 stars. Was that a factory move out of them or a regular move action?
That was a factory move.
It was.
So
Polania can end next turn.
Objective. Oh, they got human shield in the lake.
No, Polania can end. Polania is ending. Unless
With 2
Rustviet stops them. Yes. Rustviet has 2 combat cards.
Rustviet enlisted for their star. Yeah, you're right, because Polania can come take the factory. And there's nothing Crimea will be able to do about it.
So... assuming Polania has the cards, they could attack 1v1 on the factory with Crimea, attack 1v1 on that mountain with Rustviet, and even move the character down to that forest that BB built on for 2 wood spaces.
Mm-hmm.
Two units lost in the woods, and
it would be huge.
Crimea doesn't see the end, I don't think, because they should have taken the forests right there. Do you even need the factory for your Polania? I think maybe you do. 12? 6?
Well, where else would you get your combat otherwise? You go 1. I mean, either way, you're going 1v1 for Crimea somewhere. You might as well hit the factory, right?
Yeah.
Or do you hit Russia twice? Yeah, you're right. I think you're right on Crimea that they could have gotten 2 forests.
Technically, it's a little safer to hit the double Rustviet units if it's enough points. Because Rustviet, even if they have 2 5s, can only throw 10. But there's a good bet Crimea can throw 12. Plus, they can scout you. So if you don't need the factory, maybe you go after Russ here. But I mean, that's the play. Bump the forest worker, attack Rustviet on the mountain, and then gamble on the factory depending on what your combat cards are.
Yep.
I mean, unless Polania just... they have 12 cards. Unless they're just somehow all trash, I think Polania just won this game.
Yeah. And so far, I think we've only seen the 1-5 out of Crimea. So there's plenty of 5s out there. Polania could also go 2v1 on the factory if they need to. They'd miss the forest. But I suppose then you're right, you just hit Rustviet twice.
Well, you can't go 2v1 on the factory, right? Because then you can't get another combat, can you? I guess you can move off the farm and attack Crimea on that tunnel. It's your only other option.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But is that enough points? Probably. Let's see here. You give up 2 to pick up the factory, so that's a net gain of 1. Crimea loses, so that's 2 points. Crimea loses 6. That's 8. That gets you to 53. You're 4 short. You lose the farm, but gain the tundra. That's a net of 2. You're 2 short. You turn in 2 stars. It should be enough. You should be able to 2v1 the factory and then use the farm mech to hit Crimea on the tundra. Then you get scouted twice, and you have to throw down 12 2 times. Which means you have to have 3 5s and have none of them scouted, right? To feel good about that.
Yeah.
This turn is going to take a minute because he's looking at his options, he's looking at his combat cards, and he's doing the math here. Crimea right now with 0 forests. There's 1.
Whoa. They could have started 3 fights if they wanted to as well. Because their mech on their farm, they could hit the Crimea oil tunnel.
Right, that's what I was saying a minute ago. Okay, they're going to 2v1 the factory.
And
we're either seeing a combat on the oil tunnel or bumping the woodworker with the character.
If you do that, then you got a whole nother round for people to respond. I think you have to do the combat on the oil tunnel.
But do you have enough 5s? You have 4 5s, you can pull it off, but that seems unlikely even with 12 combat cards. I think you're short otherwise, unless you...
Well, if you're coming 2v1 on the factory, right, you could spend, what, 2 4s and 2 power to get up to 10. Is Crimea really going to throw 11 or 12 on that one, hoping they can win that one. I mean, you talk about some game theory there. Whereas you think Crimea would try to save up their throwing 12 for the 1v1, hoping they can have 2 shots at scouting the 5, or the Polani doesn't have enough.
Well, if Crimea has a objective, they end next turn.
No. They can't factory move. They've used their factory move the turn before.
They have a wood on the board. They have a food on the board. So
but for Crimea, they're still... Oh, you're right. Trade to food. And yes.
They might not have the score. They might not have the score if they lose the factory.
I also don't think they have an objective ready to turn in.
Yeah, I don't
Both
see
players taking some time to think here.
Village. Yeah, neither one is locked in. Crimea is locked in now. Which the time they've taken to lock in makes me wonder if they're throwing a medium amount.
Whoa. And interesting. Oh, that was on the tunnel. That wasn't the factory.
Mm-hmm. So this comes out to an easy win on the second one.
Yeah.
And unless Rusviet's sitting on like 2 5s, they can't do anything about it. So Polania taking the factory here. Oh, is it enough though? Let's see what the score is after Crimea gets booted here. Polania is down by 3. I'm sure Rusviet sees that Crimea could potentially end. I'm with you. I don't know what the... Wait. Oh no, they've already gotten the coin bonus off the enlist. So they can't get rich.
I don't see any objective Crimea could have that they could achieve. 3 forests. But now they'd have to move for that. I don't think there's anything else they can have.
Which Polania is just going to come back and factory move now.
Yeah.
And they can't get much spread off a factory move.
No, you could drop a worker on either the north oil tunnel or the you can't get the, never mind, you can't get that wood tunnel. Let's see how you get that wood space from Crimea with a factory move. Whoa.
Rusviet's suiciding with the lead on the factory.
Yep.
Polania has to give up the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Which means the best they can hope to do, 3, that'd be 49, plus 3 is 52. I think if Polania... Rusviet ending? Have they turned in an objective? Yes, they have.
They have objectives. They're a mech short.
Okay. Let's look at the math here. Polania could go back to 46 if they retake the factory. It'd be 49 if they get one more star, and Rusviet drops down to 52. I don't think Polania can end unless I'm missing something. Crimea helping Polania out here. Rusviet will drop down to 50 if Polania retakes the factory, but I still think Polania is 1 short.
Crimea could have 3 farms.
Oh! If Crimea has 3 forests, the game might be over right now, or 3 farms. No, because they didn't get the enlist.
Yeah. Which they can factory move for the enlist next turn.
But now Crimea is at 53 and about to pick up another territory, which is 55. which I think puts it out of reach from Polania ending it with a factory move. They need 15. Right. They're only going to pull 9 off of retaking the factory. They're at 5 stars with a combat to give. That's not a good place to be when you're behind.
Nope.
Rustviet's just in a rough place to try to end. So is Crimea, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Crimea can get that in list next turn. But now they're set up to have 3 forests or 3 farms. So, I mean, what do you do if you're Polania now? This is looking right now like Crimea's game.
Yep.
They have 2 workers lost in the woods over there on the left side of the board. Rustviet could theoretically bump one of them with a factory move. Any other stars that Rustviet can get?
So if Rustviet uses a factory move, they pick up 1 coin from the factory move, and they can take 2 away from Crimea, right, by displacing one of their units.
Right.
One of their workers. But then that's still not enough, so Crimea can come back with a star. Maybe get help from Polania here, booting workers.
Maybe they're counting on Rustviet to police Crimea here.
I think they have to. It's if you assume Crimea has an objective, it's game over. They still have built either farms or forests.
If you're Rustviet, do you bump that farm worker down there and just pray it's 3 farms and not 3 forests?
I hope so.
I don't think it matters though, does it?
A forest.
Doesn't matter. Because Crimea could just take one of their mechs and use the the factory card movement and essentially wayfare down to that farm, scout your card and get a free combat. You don't need the combat, but you retake the space.
Yeah. Actually, if Crimea has an objective, they use the factory card, wayfare up, and drop a worker on the Nordic forest for yet another forest.
Yeah, unless Crimea is just in a bad spot on objectives, this game's probably over. Been a great game, though. Really creative play on the part of Crimea. Really creative play on the part of Rustviet. I feel like Polania came really close, despite maybe having a few questionable calls along the way. Just demonstrating the strength of that militant board. It didn't take long, though, for players to pick up on the potential strength. Okay, we see a township move out of Rustviet. Maybe bumping a Crimea forest? Oh, I'm sorry, bumping a Polania forest? I'm not sure what that does for them, though.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that too.
I mean, you fortify the factory, but what end?
So then, they're set up on 2 mountains now.
He's going to pick up a forest because he's going to have his character lost in the woods right here, with Polania being forced to take the suicide.
Yeah, and he's also set up on 2 mountains, so he can produce. Oh no, he doesn't have the popularity to produce.
Did he just successfully stall Crimea? 5 points? I don't think he did.
Crimea picked up 2 stars. That's their factory move.
Pick up the forest in Nordic's base. And if you've
Unless
got
you need
3
something
forests or
else,
3
yeah.
farms, this is GG. Is that it?
I don't know, long pause for dramatic effect.
60. You have the objective. They've got to have the objective, right? Because they haven't played like they need a 6-star.
Unless they're a turn away from the objective. Oh, no objective. Jeez.
Oh my.
So, what if it is get rich and they gain coin on their next turn for exactly 20?
Lonnie's out of reach now. They can't hold board position with them being in a position to suicide.
Yeah.
Rustviet needs 2 turns though. And there's really nowhere they can...
Yeah, they're pretty much maxed out on spread. There's
really no place they can safely trade metal. The closest is the factory because... for me, I can't attack it, but if they trade metal on the factory, isn't Polania just gonna factory card there and take it? And then Rustviet has to retake it. And then
with their single combat card.
Well, again, suicide. But if Polania just gets fed up with the game and doesn't let you suicide, yeah. Okay, this is a triple move. $18 turns now, and not altogether clear how this is going to end.
Mm-hmm.
Lonnie had taken some lakes. At least those territories can't be taken back away from them. Still 12 off the lead. With Crimea in the head.
And Polania now threatens every single hex that Russ has other than their base farm, which Crimea can threaten in terms of being able to keep metal safe.
And you'll win the tiebreaker with Crimea, right? Because you've got the building. But you need 12 coins to... And how are you going to get them? Always suicide into Russ, I guess. I don't know what that does for you, but Russ would be forced to throw their only combat card.
That doesn't get you the win, though.
No, it doesn't. Just trying to think of what they can do. Can't suicide into Crimea because Crimea's ahead and they'll just throw 0. Unless you bumped something Crimea and put them down below Rustviet, but you just used your triple move, so you can't do that. Russ really, if Russ had pulled a mech factory card, they would have won a while ago. Really unfortunate for them. There was nothing particularly useful in the factory, but you kind of had to expect that a little bit going third.
Yeah.
Factory.
Yeah, by the time you did the last one there.
All right. Picks up a coin. 2 off the lead.
You bumping Crimea workers with this?
Maybe off the Tundra Tunnel. They kind of need all their... they could take the mech that's on Polania's village down and bump, I guess, the Crimea Tundra worker. Or just grab a extra territory of their own. Alright, Crimea, if you got Get Rich, this is game. Gain a coin. Take the W.
This has been impressively long, game one. Coming up in 50 minutes.
I think Russ being afraid to... I think what has kept Russ from winning this game is because Crimea enlisted so late and Polania got the enlist factory card, they've just been really low. See a trade out of Crimea.
Do they have
hedge your
bets?
Maybe. I mean, they can't be going for the upgrade star, right?
Oh, I hope not.
If they do have hedge your bets, they can produce next turn for a food and a metal.
Yep.
And end it. Right? Because they've got the upgrade, they've got the mech, they've got the enlist. The building. Just need one resource of every type. The Russia just gonna retake the factory here. But it's not gonna stop. Not gonna stop Crimea.
Well, Russ gets a net of 6 here, yeah, because Crimea loses 1 coin from the produce, but then gets that back with the resources and the star.
Mm-hmm. All right, hedge your bets. We keep waiting for this. We keep waiting for this objective out of Crimea.
Yeah.
No.
They're moving.
Three tundras.
Could be.
We move to that tunnel. They now have 3 tundras.
3 tunnels. I mean, they just booted 2 forest workers. No objective still. Oh, I thought for sure they were turning in an objective.
Gosh. Is this game ever going to end? Rusviet still has nowhere they can trade metal safely.
No. I don't think they ever will.
Even that village in the top right? No, that is a safe place. That is a safe place. Right?
Yes. But they trade the metal and then what? They don't have the score to win right now. It'd be trade metal, a couple turns of moving to boot workers.
Winning rounds. I did not expect 20 rounds out of this game for these players.
No.
It's just been a really...
With no end in sight either.
Yeah, I mean, you have the fact that Crimea doesn't seem to have a doable objective, which seems to be really playing into this. Rusviet played a little different opening to try to stave off an early attack from Polania, but Crimea's invasion into the base, as well as Polania's, kind of set Russ up to where they weren't comfortable producing metal, which has prevented them from getting this last mech.
Yeah.
And there's only 1 encounter left on the board that I can see. No one can get to that one.
And it's nigh inaccessible. Well, Crimea can.
Yeah, but they're not moving that character.
Well, that, and then you'd give up one of your forest spaces too.
Exactly. And you risk the other one getting bumped.
Hmm.
So Polania pulls within 10 with this move. using the triple move here.
I mean, one interesting way for Polania to get coins would be alternating their moves with trading for 2 metal. Right, you just keep
8.
empty deploying under there. It would take forever, but we might be looking at forever on this game at this rate.
Russ trades for the metal. They lose a coin if they get rid of the metal. They gain 3 coins, so that's a net of 2.
And then the star
puts them at 61. If Crimea picks up no points...
Do they have hedged their bets? They just traded for 2 other things. They just totally miss.
They missed that they could produce for
last turn.
Yes.
Wow.
Did we miss something? They could have ended last turn.
And the pop and the coin.
And they were ahead.
On a farm and a mountain. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know. 21 rounds. Wow. 10 game too.
But 21 rounds, the win, and 3 forests out of BB. Dominant first showing in this game. Wow.
Yeah. For the player who didn't need it, right? Now he's definitely advancing.
Yeah.
If there was ever any
he
question.
Started with 9 points, which was a shoe-in. But now he's sitting at 11. So...
Well, 10 with line of sight to 11.
Oh yeah. Because the challenge isn't locked down. You're right, but it's gonna be hard to come back from 3 forests. One would think. Virtual instructor says everyone needs a break. Are they asking for a break in the Discord?
Not yet, but I expect they would after an hour-long game.
Looks like they're joining back up. I'm hoping all these games don't take an hour.
Yeah, same here.
Can you check the Discord and see if they're taking a break or not?
I'm looking at it right now. There's been no discussion of a break yet.
Okay. So Crimea, they won. Their strategy played out, but I think you have to say they got a little lucky, delaying their enlist so long. Because if Rustviet plays with a little different strategy and has the opportunity to make that last mech, I think that could have been a 15-16 round game. If Polania has a little bit more score, they end between 15 and 17 rounds. I mean, Crimea needed...
Yeah.
They needed 19. They won in 20, but they needed 19 turns to win the route they went.
Yeah.
So,
hey, Fomoff, do you have the scores still up? They were asking if we could type in the scores on the document, but I've exited out of the scores at this point.
No, you can go to their game history, though, if you want.
Okay.
Just add one of them to your buddy list.
Yeah, they're on there already. Alright, so 63 for Crimea. And what was the wood? It was 3 forests for Crimea, right?
Yeah, 3 for Crimea. I didn't...
1 for Polania. They got at the end. And I think none for Rustviet.
I think Rustviet lost all their forests. No, they had the character in the...
Oh, did they?
Adjacent to the factory. So 1 for Rustviet.
Yep, somebody just fixed it for me.
Alright, we're into the second game with Joy on Crimea, BB on Polania, and Day on Rustviet. I think Polania has to be just sick after that game to pull that encounter out of the gate and then not win that game is rough.
Yeah, I do want to go back to one of the things you said, that you think Crimea was lucky because they delayed their enlists. I think yes and no. I think that was probably a deliberate strategy choice to try to get to the factory first, and then they were unlucky that Polania pulled that god-level encounter, but that also changed how Rustviet had to play, which delayed what Rustviet was doing. So for Crimea, that might have been a good news, bad news kind of situation.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, although Rustviet traded for oil on turn 2. So maybe they had a pathway to 4 mechs before Polania took their base encounter, and Crimea bumped Polania on that oil tundra spot. But
Rusvia traded for oil on turn 1.
Yeah. Yeah, these players seem pretty consistently concerned about a base invasion out of Polania. You wonder if well, this is interesting. You trade for 2 metal and then produce.
I wonder if you could see a trade and then a gain action to deploy speed. You're right, that's interesting out of Polania. Maybe they're trying to run a little more of an economy game. Crimea, by the way, said last game their other objective was permanent foothold, which obviously is a non-starter. But maybe Polania has some weird objective here that they're working towards. Rusvia interestingly upgraded bolster and deploy, and not move.
That may mean so they have no objective.
Going for the power star. Yeah.
Yeah, we got Day on Rusvia. It may mean he has no objective. Looks like Polania is aiming to get 2 mechs by the time they reach the encounter. I'd be surprised if we don't see a trade for 2 metal here.
I agree, and then you move the character to the encounter and that mech onto the lake to put some pressure on your opponents. I mean, maybe Polania saw that Crimea's first move was not a faster one. They didn't trade for 2 metal right away. And so since it's maybe not the faster one, they decided, I'll take the extra turn to produce, maybe get some resources towards using a factory card or bottom row action or something off my encounter.
Crimea so far with a more traditional start on their industrial board.
Mm-hmm.
I have mixed feelings about this Polania opening. You get your mechs out really quickly, which is good. You don't get that coin enlist, which is so powerful in a game with 3 or more players, especially with factions that are all going for 4 mechs. Chuck asked, do you get the point every game or just the sum of the round? I think you're talking about the challenge point. There's just one challenge point and just one player gets it. And it's based on who has the most forests after all 3 games. Or how many forests that they're lost in the woods on specifically. So BB with a commanding lead on that challenge point right now. But he didn't get a point from last game for it. He just got a point for the win last game.
What if Polania has... Oh no, it's exactly 1 worker. I thought they might have had Wolf Among Sheep, but they moved another worker there. Plus they'll deploy a mech there.
I don't hate that wood.
Yeah.
You're producing anyway.
But you don't... You definitely enlist.
Yeah. Which is great because you get that extra coin out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think pretty seriously about taking that wood because even if you have 2 mechs, dropping a mine on that village allows you a lot of opportunity for mid to late game spread.
Agreed. Especially with so many of the forests being tunnel adjacent. That's where you can have your workers.
Oh, we see a 5 worker strat out of Rusvia. Are they going to go for tier 2 here? Oh, Snap picks the wood. What, maybe a monument? What's the build bonus? Neighbor 2 encounters?
What's a mill?
You know, I get it. You can overproduce food and then come back on your last produce and get some workers. Get some metal.
Mm-hmm.
So
second mech for Crimea.
Rustviet has 1 metal. They're going to produce 3 more times.
Oh, Crimea just got an objective.
Did you see what it was?
Foundations? Or, no, monopolize, I bet.
Hmm.
So they could have foundations last turn. I bet his monopolize got
2
10
enlists
foods
out
in
of
there.
Polania. Wanted to grab that combat card enlist, it looks like, before me and Rustviet start going crazy with the...
Yeah, that makes
Going
sense. And
crazy with the enlists.
there's no immediate threat to the factory. You're still first to the factory if you move next turn. Or even the turn after.
Yeah, if I'm Polania, I seriously consider a produce here rather than a move to the factory. Because I want to get these workers.
Yep. So we got our first enlist out of Rustviet. That was a great pull by Rustviet to get that mill. It shaves a turn off them getting their enlist and worker star. Crimea trading for wood. So we see some buildings out of Crimea here. And with the neighbor encounter build bonus, you can a couple of buildings goes a long way.
Yeah. Why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't... Yeah, there's the produce. I think that was a good call out of Polania. Like you said, there's no immediate risk to the factory. And you don't want to get yourself in a situation where you don't have workers and you can't spread.
Yep. Then I think on your next move, you plant a mech on a lake, maybe over there by Rustviet, and make Rustviet deploy again, rather than continuing to enlist.
Me, I'm moving out of the base. And I would guess
Or
off
you do a
of that...
factory block.
Yeah, maybe off of that farm space.
Oh yeah, they have all the food they need. Is where we go to the tunnel farm and set up for laying guys on wood. Or up there, so you produce and get wood for more buildings. Crimea's gonna get the build star.
Maybe they don't have an objective.
They turned it in already.
Oh.
They just did last turn.
Yeah, you're right.
Monopolize, I think. I feel like you just take the $2 in the pop and go. I mean, having an upgrade's nice, but you're gonna spend a turn upgrading later.
I'm a little surprised he didn't take the oil. Maybe.
But then you have to spend a turn making the upgrade. And otherwise, right now you're alternating produce and deploy with move build.
I agree, it's a risk, but that upgraded move and to be able to make your buildings cheaper conserves a lot of combat cards. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they're not worried about it.
With everybody enlisting, I don't know they're gonna have to worry about combat cards, and they'll have scout next turn.
All right, you put this
Factory
mech next
block.
to Rustviet or Crimea? Looks like Rustviet.
A little surprised they didn't do a factory block there with that mech on Crimea like we saw last game.
Yeah, maybe not wanting to give Crimea an easy combat. Because that's the downside of the factory block.
Sure.
Okay,
Ooh,
I actually...
factory card.
I actually like this factory card on Polania Militant. The reason being is you can move to metal, produce the metal, and then run away with the metal. Because that's one of the difficulties with Polania Militant is once Wayfarer is out, there's basically nowhere you can make metal where someone can't take it.
You're totally right.
So being able to produce and then run away with what you've produced, it's huge.
Yep. So I think we see them use it right away, get to their 8 workers, and get their character off the factory, picking up an encounter somewhere. Probably in the Albion area. Alright, that's your move as Polania here. Or do you pick up the workers and drop some on metal right away? You don't need to, because you can do that on another move, picking up another encounter and spreading.
Yeah, I think I produced 8 workers and take an encounter if it's me.
Yep.
Use my hope for some metal, and the next turn start to spread and drop a Mac.
Or an enlist isn't too bad for Polania either. Are you already 2 enlists towards your enlist star?
Basically 3 encounters you could go for. You could go for Saxony's village, the West village from Nordic, or the Nordic encounter on the mountain.
Well, so you don't have your Riverwalk mech yet. I think you go for the Albion Oil, and then on your next turn, you move your character to the Albion Village, or you do that vice versa, I guess, while moving units to that metal tunnel, so you can use your factory card to produce your metal and go hide with it, like you said.
So I feel like they get a little bailed out here, because the one downside to going to that Tundra one was that you risk getting resources stolen. Well, I'm electing to go with that expensive mech on the militant board. So trying to rush the game a little bit, because that's a 4-coin swing. 8-coin swing.
And it saves a turn, but you're going to be moving anyway, I feel like.
Yeah. Is it worth it?
Then wasn't the other option power and combat cards? Which you're, at least on the power front, you're short of right now.
Mm-hmm. Which also would have protected the character from giving up an easy combat to Crimea, since Crimea wants the factory this turn and probably wouldn't have committed more than one worker to the fight.
Correct. I don't know where else Crimea is going to move. But I think they want to stay on that wood space for one more turn to produce enough wood with their 4th mech to be able to build their 4 buildings.
Adeptus asks, Fomov, the way you talk about the metal being stolen, is it that important in big games? It seems that Rusviet lost the previous game because he can't have metal either without it being stolen from him. Yeah, Polania militant's especially vulnerable to that, because if you look at the mountains, the Saxony mountain, Crimea can wayfare to. The tunnel is obviously super vulnerable. The Albion mountain they can wayfare to. Once Crimea has a factory card, they can wayfare to the Nordic mountain. And the Rusviet mountain and the Crimea mountain are just off limits. The mountain next to this tunnel, it's just one of the reasons I think a upgrade is so powerful on Polania Militant is not only do you get the upgraded move, but it reduces a 3 metal mech to a 2 metal mech, which means you can trade for it, which is so much better.
What did we just see out of Polania here? They did not move to metal, but maybe they get bailed out by an encounter. $2 for any 2 resources. Pull the last 2 metal they need. Crimea, by the way, while you were talking, picked up a build factory card.
Definitely going for that build star.
Yeah, also they're a move, a factory move, and a produce away from 3 stars, 3 bottom row stars. And with that move, you can pick up a combat. So they're 3 turns from probably ending here. And they have a pretty substantial lead right now.
You're saying we're going to hit turn 14 and see a build star?
I think so.
Wow. That's rough if you're Rusviet. It's like, I haven't even done anything yet.
Yeah. Although Russ probably hits tier 2 here. Yeah, they insta-chose the popularity to get to tier 2, which helps. Close the gap to 13.
You're still down by, 13.
But your next produce for Russ gets you the Worker Star and the Enlist Star, and the metal you need for your Mech Star. So here's the Deploy Star for Crimea.
There's Wayfair.
Which means now your factory moves and your moves, you start picking up some forests.
Yeah. I don't know if you have the power and the cards to get your combats right now.
You can hit You can go 2-on-1 on the Polania mech and the Albion oil.
It's true. Get you one of those combats.
You only need one, right? You're gonna get.
You're 2 enlists away.
No,
you're 2 buildings away.
Yeah. Never mind. You're right. Oh, and here's power for Polania.
Not one that you wanted to see is Crimea. Oh, and this is beautiful. Number option 3. Spin the popularity. You grab that upgrade on the move and the deploy. And you grab 2 resources.
Wow, what an amazing pull for Polania.
And Crimea can't take them.
No.
Rustfield obviously can't reach you.
Crimea can still do a 2v1 on the oil tunnel, which they might need to consider now as an opportunity to combat before it gets too difficult.
Problem with Polania right now, I think, is they've got so many workers hemmed into that farm spot. I would have gone to metal like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, and then you have to trade to enlist, although maybe they gain pop and enlist and get to tier 2.
We see out of Crimea here.
Enlist. I think they're only going 1 combat. They're trying to get 3 bottom row actions.
Gonna draw the game out a little bit, but not a whole lot. List number 3 out of Crimea.
Mm-hmm.
We're still looking at 2 buildings, 1 enlist, and a combat. And
Remember, one of the buildings is common a factory card move.
Right. And the other one's a normal move.
Mm-hmm.
So we could definitely see this game end. Alright, Polani getting those resources out. Moving to the water.
They're gonna move their character to the water too. And it's not, if you can collect some more power, it's maybe not a bad strategy for Polania. Wait on combats until you're good and ready and come out with a triple move.
Would you have left a few workers on that village and then deployed a mech to it and given that mech the chance to spread those workers out?
Probably, but they might have human shield.
Oh yeah, virtual instructor in chat just said, "Don't tell me it's human shield again."
Shield the lake again, yeah. Oh, they didn't turn it in, so no.
They just pulled a star. What was the star? 4 max.
Deploy.
Oh yeah, the one over by Rustfield. Forgot about that one.
Are we going to see Russ bolster 2 more times, with the second one being a dry bolster to get to the power star? I think we are. Which means if you're Crimea, this would be the time you go and attack Russ, right? Or next turn, maybe. Interesting. We have a bolster and upgrade out of Crimea.
Maybe believing they need to be able to triple attack somebody at this point. Have some power and triple attack.
Sure.
Lonnie at this point just trading their way to their enlist and grabbing metal on the way, so as they move and spread out, they can grab coins.
So that tells me it was truly a mistake to spend $4 on a mech earlier, because you're going to be empty deploying anyway, just for the coin.
Right.
A little surprised, but did Polania take their enlist, their pop enlist bonus? I thought we'd maybe see a trade for pop, and then the pop bonus from enlist to get to tier 2.
Well, they're at 4 popularity right now, and they can nab. They're gonna nab 1 more pop off Crimea's build. Yeah, exactly.
So does Crimea attack Russ here? Because Russ is sitting at 14 power and a turn away from Power Star. I feel like that's the move you attack Russ on their oil and make him decide are they doing the combat or the Pop Star or the Power Star.
Chat says yes. We'll see.
You do that, and you can even take this mech off the wood leaving just a worker on their on the forest between them and Tagawa.
And you're gonna.
And if you want, you go 2v1 and do the same with the mech on the forest tunnel.
And you can leave the wood behind because you're about to spend it. So even if you lose the combat, you can still build.
Yeah.
And the build bonus is adjacent to encounters. So unfortunately, your best place to build is the forest tunnel. Takes away that
you
worker
wayfare
lost in the woods.
You wayfare up to the Albion farm, or you go there. You can pick up another forest. You can build on that farm tunnel.
Yeah, good call. That gets you to 3. Well, that picks up 2. Well, that gets you to the max build bonus. Because it's one of the easier ones.
Yeah, there's so many spots.
None points out that Rusviet only needs 2 combats to end. Because Russ has turned in the objective. So you give Russ a combat, you may be in trouble.
I'm not saying you give him the combat that you
2v1 and make sure you win.
If you have a 5, presumably at this point Crimea might have a 5, you can 1v1 and win there.
Yeah, but if you drain yourself, look, he's consolidating because he sees that Russ can end. You drain yourself on that tundra, Russ just comes back, takes the factory, and takes the tundra and ends.
Yeah. Russ can still hit you on your forest here.
It's true. That's just 1, though.
Yep.
I think maybe Russ bolsters here like you were talking about, because no one else is in a position to end.
Yep. And the bolster will already get them in the lead. And they can move and take an empty factory into combat. Oh no, they don't. Russ does not have an upgraded move. They upgraded bolster instead of move. So they take both moves to get to the Crimea forests.
You lose 2 tier if you do tier 2 if you do that.
True, but you have. Does Russ have a monument? No.
No, they took the mill instead. They could have had a monument.
But as Crimea, you probably use your factory card and get that mech out of there, so you have another forest spot. Either that, or you're doing the 2 forests over between Saxony and Polania.
Yeah, you can pull 2 stars this turn as Crimea, but I don't think you can pull 3.
No. There's only 1 spot you can attack anyone if you're Crimea. That's Russ's oil.
None points out that if Rusviet bolsters here and goes to 5 stars, that Crimea could suicide into them. Can they do that though? Will they have enough points if they just have the factory movement? And they spend 2 coins?
I don't think so. They'd get a star for the build bonus.
Here's a question for you. Would you have dropped 2 workers on that factory so Russ couldn't take it if you were Polani right there?
Yes. Oh, what is it? Oh, the divide and conquer must be?
No, because they have a factory card.
Oh. What they just get then? Diversify?
Diversify, yeah.
Yeah, that's why they went to the oil instead of the factory.
Yeah. And they wanted to pick up that extra wood spot. Russ gonna lock down the factory here. Go into the lead by 4. Why bump the Crimea worker off the tundra?
Or the Polania worker.
Yeah, Polania.
Or no. Unless it's about positioning to be able to... You can attack Crimea's farm right now from there. So it might have been positioning for combats.
Russ now in the lead by 7.
Yeah.
Crimea, do you think about picking up those 2 forests right now? Getting your build star and then wayfaring somewhere? I mean, you'd be on a home base instead of... Or even river walking into Polania's base.
Yeah, why wouldn't you steal a territory there from Polania?
Attack and bolster in its game. Says Adeptus.
What was that?
Saying that Russ can attack and bolster in its game. Russ can't lose the popularity though now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got, let's see here. They've got 11, 12 points wrapped up in tier 2 right now, and they're only up by 8. I guess with some spread and 2 stars, they could drop out of tier 2 and still pull it off.
Yeah. So you'd be able to spread, you'd be able to pick up 1, 2, 3, 4 territories. And you could even pick another one up from Crimea if you needed to.
There's the building.
I think we see Crimea pick up those 2 forests between Polania and Saxony.
Hard if you're Crimea, because if you lose this game, Joy's dropped 2 games, and at this point would still be two forests behind BB. So he'd go into the last game basically having to pull out a win to advance. Be essentially sudden death for him.
Where did
he moved a mech off that forest
fortify
to
his
this farm? Why though?
To deny a combat to Russ?
I guess so.
But Russ has people's army and can still bring 2v2. Other than they lose the spread if they do that. We see bolster out of Russ here, right? To get to the power star.
Are you up by enough? You can't. Polania just went into tier 2. None says it's inconsequential for all of them. I think you advance at 8 points. If you have the tiebreaker None, there's a good chance there are more than 9 people at 8 points or more. And Joy's at 7 points right now.
So is Day.
None, I don't know if a 7-pointer gets through. You've probably looked at it since I have, Nevik. Do you think a 7-pointer gets through?
It's possible. I mean, it depends how like groups D, E, F go. If you get a couple sweeps in those groups, you could see an 8-pointer not get through, or if groups like C, D, E, F, if it's all 2-1-1 split, you could see a 7-pointer get through. It's gonna be really close there.
I think this character is going to go down to this encounter and pick up a popularity. Might allow Rustviet to bump another worker or grab a combat. What am I talking about? No, that's all they did. They just factory moved and gained 3 coins.
They picked up that village, which means now they can move. They can township move to pick up the encounter there.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a clever move, I think, by Russ.
Okay, this Crimea character is now lost in this wood. Crimea down by 8 and 10 on Polania and Russ respectively. Do they have enough spread available? I mean, Crimea's not capped, but they're getting close to their point ceiling. And with 2 other factions in tier 2 and tier 2 just inaccessible to Crimea, they need to end sooner rather than later, or they're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
Well, now their character's no longer lost in the woods. Well, here, if they want to get to tier 2, they could pull 3 pop here, and doing... Oh, they didn't upgrade their build, did they? Yeah, they could do an empty bottom row build. Except they have not... They don't have the building list that only help their opponents.
It only gets them to 5.
I was saying it was a start.
Yeah. The game goes long enough for sure.
Well, this is what we said about last game, and then it
I
went
know.
21 rounds.
I know. What's Polania got right now?
They need 2
Got
combats.
Tier 2. Can't reach anybody. They have camaraderie.
They can reach Crimea's farm, which has 3 units on it, right? They can reach Rusty's mountain, also 3 units. They could reach the factory, 2 units plus People's Army. Yeah, there are no easy combats. Look at this game. We're in round 17. 0 combat stars, and not 1 easy combat to be had.
Well, no encounter for Russ.
Plus an encounter for Polania.
Mm-hmm. Just gonna spread.
Just dropping workers around. Get back to the lake.
Up by 8 now.
Oh, look at that. Pay 2 to get 4 metal, and empty deploy just for the coin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they took the $2 in the pop.
Well, they've got 2 options.
Oh, that's right. Duh.
Because
Take it both. It's
Polania.
perfect. Polania's got a decent lead now, up 12 on Russ.
Yeah, Russ can't bolster now.
No. Nor can they reach that encounter Polania just went to.
None says
I guess it
BB
could
is
with 2
killing it
moves.
in this tournament for sure, man. For sure. I mean,
Yep.
I think Polania maybe starts suiciding onto Russ. They've got camaraderie. They don't care about those workers.
Yep. I agree. Polania just moved, so they factory card suicide and then move suicide the turn after.
I would do it. Bring that village mech to the factory.
So that could be if you hand Russ 2 stars though. If Russ does any sort of spread in between, given that they're a tier 2, I'm not sure you hang on to the lead then.
Russ can't factory card. Can they get a combat? Oh. Russ dropping out of tier 2. Oh, but they're going to pick up this
here with the
encounter.
encounter.
They have to take option 1. They're
Yeah.
locked in.
Well, combat's just opened up.
Yeah, there are 3 places you
Premier-
can attack Russ now, which means you can triple attack and force an end. You can get high enough in the score. And give Russ 2 combats and still win. You may not be able to now, you're just up by 1. And you've almost got max spread. But you can do a 2v2 and a 1v1. You don't have the power to win both of them.
Nope. You have to imagine Russ's combat cards are good. I mean, so are Polania's, but Russ has the extra power.
Polania can bump a worker.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you might do as Polania is you might double attack the factory. Ensure you win it. If you have like 2 5s, ensure you win it. And then attack Russ on another spot and force Rust. It throws 0 and force Rust to win, and then Rust can't retake. And if you've got enough score, Rust can't retake the factory at the end, and you put the score out of reach from Crimea.
Polania did just move though, so they don't have their regular triple move available.
Right. So you can't start that plan until turn 19. What do you do at this point if you're Crimea? Game's just out of reach, right? You can't spread out any more than your spread without handing somebody a combat.
Yeah, there aren't any more encounters left, right? I mean, the best you can do, you can pick up the Nordic Forest. Yeah, you're pretty much at max spread otherwise.
Gonna go for this last enlist. They have the build star?
Yeah.
Okay. Can Polania suicide into Crimea now?
Yeah. Or they have enough mechs on the lake they can hit Crimea on that farm.
You're 1 power short of being able to definitely end this. No, you're right. You got the factory card movement.
You can do... Polania can do... Oh yeah, it's another triple move till next time.
Okay, Polania just using the factory card, producing to get some points. The 2 resources they picked up are worth 2 coins. They only paid 1 coin, so I mean, you got 12 combat cards. Doesn't hurt to spend 1.
Yeah.
Move here. Maybe just put that mech that's on the village on a lake somewhere. Go ahead and suicide Crimea, I guess. Pick up 1 of your combats. Yeah. You took a little bit of a risk there. I mean, theoretically Crimea could have taken that combat, but I think you can be pretty confident that Joy's a classy enough player, he's not going to end for last.
Yeah.
Even if the win's out of reach. So it was a pretty safe play. You're back up by 6 now. Rustviet's in trouble. Crimea can't and won't end. They're probably
Crimea can end, but won't.
Right. And with the lead Polania has, they can just suicide from that village, home base village, to Rustviet on the factory next turn. They can't get any additional spread, but if Rustviet takes the W on the factory, it only gets them a net of 4 coins, which gets them to 83, and Polania wins by 2.
Yep.
And Rustviet can't afford to bump even 1 worker anywhere.
What if you bolster as Russ? You get your 5th star, Polania is pretty much at max spread, then Polania can't suicide into you. I guess they triple move.
They triple the factory. They give up 2 territories, pick up 3, it's a net gain of 1, and you lose 3 territories. It's the same difference.
Yeah.
This sure looks like Polania's game. Unless Crimea tries to bump workers to stall Polania, but I don't think they can reach any of them. Can they?
They can reach the farm one in Polania's base.
There's 1. They haven't upgraded the move action too. Rust consolidating, but losing 2 territories in the process. Moving, I think that was a good move to move the mech off of that off the factory, because now Polania can't take the factory without dropping out of tier 2.
Yeah.
And there's no encounter you can pick up left. But it's GG Polania none? I'm not sure about that. Maybe. I haven't done the math. Maybe if Polania bumps one worker.
Oh, here's a Cremius.
What's happening here?
Cremia's ending. So pick up, they could get 4 forests and knocked Polania down to 1. So they're ending and to take a tie for the lead in the challenge.
Are those resources enough to let them catch Polania?
Not for the game, but they'll have 4 forests.
Maybe close.
Oh, it is. Oh, wow, you're right.
Pulled from the fire!
Oh, it's a tiebreak. Wow. So I guess actually producing cost Polania.
Polania bringing those resources to that farm made the difference. And the produce, you're right. Yes, because one resource on that, not on that wood space, and Crimea falls 1 coin short. Wow. That was a brilliant last move. Good game, Joy. Okay, Joy moves into 8 points. He's had quite a few wins this far, so I think there's a good chance Joy just won his way through with that. And you said he's tied with BB now on number of forests?
Yeah, so Joy picked up 4 forests in that match. Polania Militant, BB just has the 1 next to the factory, and none for Russ. So the challenge right now is... No, I'm sorry, Joy's winning the forest. He has 5. So he had 1 as Russ, now 4 is Crimea. BB has 4, and Day only has the 1.
I mean, how many forests are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Day's probably out of the challenge point. I mean, he'd have to have like all of them.
Yes.
So
winning the game would be much easier.
BB's through. Joy, there's a good chance Joy is through. Day needs a win on Crimea, or he's most likely out of the tournament. So that's the stakes of the last game.
I don't know if he's likely out, because he was the 2nd seed coming in with 7 points, so he had the best tiebreak coming into this match. So he's not going to pick up any game wins, but there are several people below him that were 1 or 2 game wins below. So it doesn't kick Day out. It puts him in a tenuous spot, though. But his strength of schedule, of course, playing BB and Joy is going to be quite high. I think Day is probably more than likely okay, but it's not a guarantee.
None thinks Joy is through with 8 points.
I agree.
It's really hard to be sure, though. I mean, I think he is, because he's won quite a few games. I think he does well in the tiebreaker. But it's conceivable that with enough sweeps, there could be more than 9. There could be more than 9 players with 8 points.
But I think Joy is strong in both tiebreakers.
Yeah, I agree.
So he would be... Because he has 7 game wins, and anybody coming up from the 5 rank, just about anyone coming up would probably also get to 6 or 7, and Joy's strength of schedule is high. I mean, I think Joy is a 99% in right now. Plus, remember, he's got the lead on the challenge right now. And I suppose if he wanted to, he could ensure he wins the challenge next round, getting that 9th point and guaranteeing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Day who has to really hold his breath this last game.
Yeah. So in the Discord chat, by the way, they said a couple minutes ago that they were going to take a 5 to 10 minute break.
All right. Okay, virtual instructor asks, what are the tiebreakers in order? The first tiebreaker, virtual instructor, is how many games you've won. And the second tiebreaker is your strength of schedule. And the strength of schedule is just calculated by adding up the total amount of points that your opponents throughout the tournament have accumulated. So the more games you play in essentially the higher groups, the higher your strength of schedule is. We got about a 10-minute break until the next game, I think is what we said.
Well, they said 5 to 10 minutes 5 minutes ago now, so I think we have a couple minutes.
Okay, cool. Wow, that was a great finish. I think you were probably shocked right there if you were Polania.
Mm-hmm.
Probably didn't think you had that Crimea had the points to end it and you were just going to suicide on the factory. None actually said good game, Polania, in chat. So, Adeptus, how is the next game? I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure what you mean. We're just a couple minutes away, we think, from the next game. So BB is through, and he's going to play Rusviet. Joy is probably through, and he's going to play Polania. And then Day is the one who really needs a win. He's not eliminated if he doesn't win, but his chance of getting through drops substantially. I think we can all agree. And he's going to be on Crimea. So Crimea needs the win more than anyone else. And Day's way behind on the challenge for the Forest.
Yeah.
So the chance
the challenge is basically impossible today. He's got to get the game win, and I think if he doesn't get it, it's probably a less than 50% shot he makes it through. Or maybe it's close to 50. It's tough to tell what. It's tough to have a good guess on what all the other groups are going to do. Right, because groups. So Group B with 3 players at 7 is going to send most likely at least 2 players, if not all 3, to 8 points. Group C with 3 players at 6 will send a minimum of 1, potentially 2 to 8 points. So just out of those 2, that's probably 6 or 7 that are at 8 points.
Yeah.
Groups E and F each have 3 players at 5. So if you get a sweep there, you're looking at somebody at 8.
Well, you don't have to get a sweep to get from 5 to 8. You just pull 3 points, right?
Yeah, so I'm considering a 3 points as a sweep. I know it's not an outright sweep, but if you win all 3 games and lose the challenge, I'd call that a sweep, or even 2 games plus the challenge. So I know it's not technically a sweep, but if you get somebody who dominates in either of those.
Right. So, yeah, that's what I'm saying. We may have conceivably 9 or 10 players with 8 points.
Well, 8 or more, right? Because BB's already eclipsed the 8.
Right, 8 or more, right. Which would eliminate anyone with just 7.
Yep.
All right, have they started? It looks like the lobby's full.
They're all in the game, but they have not launched it yet. Or maybe they have. Oh, it's on the load screen. So I will say games 1 and 2, both of them went longer than expected. I thought, especially game 2, it looked like Crimea was in a really solid position round 11. And then it went like 6 or 7 more rounds.
So, opening wise, how did you feel about Polania's opening that last game?
I mean, it was a turn slower, but they didn't necessarily need to rush. So did the extra resources help them? Did they eventually build? I'm not sure. And they had extra food. So I think it saved them a gold, but cost them a turn, maybe?
Here we go. We're in.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not sure. I don't remember what their objective was either.
I think we said it was diversified, but I don't think we knew.
Yeah, so if it's diversified, their opening didn't help them either. But I suppose at that point you don't know what factory card you get. What if you get the factory card that's 2 non-matching resources for an enlist? Then it sure helps to have that the grain and the wood from your turn 2 produce.
Produce out of Crimea. Trade for metal out of Polania.
Question: are we gonna see if Russ get oil right away again? Yeah. Because it's worked so well the last 2 games.
Right. Russ hasn't won a game yet, have they? We've seen.
No.
Who wins out of Crimea? Yeah. I've seen this opening with Polania Militant before. It didn't work out terribly. You produce for 2 food, you trade a food and a metal, you get your deploy enlist, and then you move again.
Yeah.
They grab a mech and the encounter in the same turn.
Yep, and then you're hoping for metal or an upgrade from the encounter so you can be 2 turns away from your second mech. Right?
Mm-hmm. Don't get that metal.
If you don't get the metal or an upgrade, it's a long road to that second mech.
The enlist out of Crimea.
Just in time for Polania to enlist as well.
Perfect timing on that for sure.
Of course, Polania getting their, what I assume will be the deploy bonus just before everyone's about to start deploying mechs too.
Thing is, you're going to hit the encounter on turn 5 as Polania. If you delay it 1 turn, you can actually get there with the coin enlist and an extra metal, which allows you to, even if you don't get metal off the encounter, trade for 2 more metal and get another mech. I don't know. I don't know about... I've seen this Polania opening do well. Just don't know if it's my favorite. But you haven't seen anyone just YOLO the encounter, which I wondered
I
if
thought we were
going to
see that game 1.
Yeah.
Right when we saw a move first. Might depend on your objectives too.
The moment of truth of with Polania.
You got 3 good options there.
Got to take. It's me. I take. Ooh. 1 and 2 maybe.
We definitely take 2.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking 2 and 3. You get that second enlist. Save you a turn.
Yeah, my thought with taking 1 is you got to trade for another medal anyway. So if you take 1, it's a 3 popularity swing, and you use those 2 food to get that enlist you would have picked up in number 3.
True. Yeah, that's a good plan.
None says 2 and 3 as well, so he's on Team Nevik there.
I think that means there's probably no wrong way to go, or they're both so close.
Does it save a turn though, None? None says it saves a turn. You got to trade for the extra metal anyway.
Yeah. Taking his time to think here. I wonder if he's thinking about taking not metal, or is deciding whether to take the worker or not. I think you have to take the worker.
Yeah, definitely take the worker. Ooh.
What?
He just took Riverwalk.
Oh, Riverwalk. So, what, are you going to produce and then move the worker off the farm and move a bunch of workers to the mountain tunnel?
I don't know. I can't wait to see what he's going to do with it. I've noticed the last two games. Oh my gosh. For me, I just jumped out of his chair.
Yeah.
Although he only has 2 pop. But he can.
You can enlist for the pop bonus. And your build bonus is neighbor tunnels. Oh, he took the power.
He doesn't take it. He doesn't take it. Ah.
I mean, that's where you take the upgrade to move. You take 2 wood and build a mine on the mountain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because then you can deploy scout, and you immediately threaten that mountain tunnel that Polani is hoping to make metal on.
Yeah. For sure.
Interesting.
I think he may want, if he doesn't win this game, he might want that one back.
What if he's king of the hill?
Then he made the right call. We see almost for sure produce here.
Yeah.
And if he has king of the hill, he can win the race to the factory.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's 3 turns away now if he chooses to rush it. Oh.
Well, that's interesting. I thought maybe you'd take the worker off the farm and put 3 workers on metal there.
Or produce one more time.
Or produce first, yeah.
Go with a 5
because I was
worker
be metal
strat.
short.
Polani with a nice coin lead right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's the benefit of getting that early enlist, right?
Rusty taking that west farm. Oh wow. Number 3 is beautiful, but can you use it? I don't think you can use it.
Well, you could build something. Right? Well, you could build a monument on that farm, on the west farm.
Mm-hmm. It's a build bonus. Neighbor tunnels. You get
tunnels.
2 coins off of that.
Yep.
He's just going to take the popularity.
I would see him move out of Crimea, and do they plant workers on that? On one of the oil hexes to be able to have stuff for an upgrade.
I've been calling him Virtual Instructor, but it's Virtual Destructor. Virtual Destructor thinks that Melania has balanced workforce. Which could explain it.
But then they would have... Well, I suppose because they still took the enlist either way. But they're multiple turns away unless they get a enlist factory card.
Well, they have 2 already, so all they have to do is trade for 2 food next turn.
Oh yeah, that's right, because they just produce. So Crimea traded for wood, which is interesting, given that they could have gotten the wood from their encounter the turn before. I mean, I know they enlisted, bottom row enlisted when they traded for wood.
You go attack Polania right now if you're Crimea?
But if you do, right, it'd be 2v3, and if you lose, you are way behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, losing is probably GG. You have to win the combat.
Yeah. And Day really needs the win. I don't think you can take that risk.
Your neighbor tunnels.
Yeah, they're gonna put a mill on that forest. No, they'll put a mill on their farm, because you don't want to put a building on the forest. Oh, they're out of the bonus anyway. They'll put a mill on the forest. Here's their 2 pop for 2 resources again if they want it.
Mm-hmm. You can take it now though, right?
Yeah.
Something I see sometimes with Crimea, if you're hovering around not enough popularity, is to take that popularity and list second. So as you move, you can pick up a pop each turn at the end of your turn, so you can even bump workers down to 0.
Yep.
Grab a pop and just keep producing.
Yep. So does Polania enlist here for balanced workforce? And then move to the factory next turn? Or do you move to the factory and maybe pick up an enlist card?
I see a move. Drop those 2 workers on a village, maybe? Village tunnel. Drop a mech with the workers.
Yeah, could be. And then you're really threatening Russ and their metal there.
Yeah, at that point you force Russ to deploy without the coin enlist.
You could go for a factory block too. Right, you would bring a worker there and deploy another mech there. Your workers are all sorts of spread out then, from an economy standpoint.
Not wanting to give Crimea an easy combat tells me they want to use the factory card next turn.
Mm-hmm. Well, and with that mountain tunnel block, you can safely go up into the Albion encounters and not have to worry about losing any resource you might pick up from the encounter.
Good observation.
They have to be hoping for either the produce factory card or the enlist factory card here.
Up.
Interesting. They haven't listed for combat cards. They're going to get a steady stream of those. And I suppose you use that factory card twice to hit 2 encounters. You're in tier 2.
Are we
and you
looking
already
at
have an enormous coin lead.
Yes, you're welcome, Virtual Destructor. Got so many numbers in it and stuff. It was hard for me to read. It's a personal failing on my part. I appreciate your forgiveness. Right?
And you didn't really need to read to play Scythe anyway, right? Fomov, you just look at what. You just need to be able to read what the encounter says.
That's right. Lots of pictures.
Or some of the language on the objective, they're tough.
Just really need to know what a $sign says and the word resources and the names of the resource. You don't have to read a lot.
No.
Okay, if it's balanced workforce, he trades for 2 food here, right? Or gets off the factory.
The factory action. It is the factory first to start picking up encounters, because maybe you get an enlist or the food that way.
And you don't give Crimea an easy combat.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
And take a mech. Take the mech star if you want.
No, you're going to get that eventually anyway, I think. None of these games have been fast. I don't think you rush that. Because now you can take the 2 food, and next turn you can trade for the metal and get your enlist.
2 out of the 3 metal you need
short.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's all sorts of encounters you can pick up. You can pick up any encounter that gives you resources. You can pick up any encounter that gives you an upgrade. You can pick up lots of stuff to get your mech star after a trade.
Yeah, you can trade metal twice for these last 2 enlists.
I think even if you do it once, there's probably a 50% chance you pick up what you need in your next encounter to get your 4th deploy.
Crimea could attack Russ here. Well, Russ just went to even power. Maybe not. And you want the factory, I think, if you're Crimea. Nope. Okay.
Gonna enlist first. Oh, they're probably enlisting the build bonus.
They're doing that because they need to grab that popularity, be able to be able to produce again.
Well, because Polania is going to be in tier 2. So you probably have to be yourself. Interesting, we have to move that encounter right away of Polania. I thought for sure we get a trade for 2 metal with an enlist first. So where else do they move? Do they just start camping on lakes? Oh, they have all their food now, so they're bringing workers here. Well, there's their upgrade. See, if they had 2 metal, they could have deployed.
Beautiful encounter. That upgrade is so valuable on Polania Militant. I didn't see, but I'm sure they went to move deploy, and they did.
Yeah, they did. So I guess now their next turn is almost certainly a trade for 2 metal and enlist from Polania.
We've seen Crimea jump out to early leads in all of these games. And then win. So not just early leads.
They jump out to a big early lead, looks great, then it looks very tenuous for a couple turns. Alright, and then they pull out a very tight victory. So you probably want the other pop card here if you're Crimea, right?
No such luck.
Nope. Enlist, which isn't bad. Helps save you turns as you're moving.
Yeah, you just need the 1 more enlist. And like you said, you get to move instead of trade. You've got resources aplenty.
Yeah.
No problem there. Do we finally see the 2 metal and the enlist out of Polania? We do.
Yep. With balanced workforce?
About to find out.
Nope.
You're a little ahead of me.
Oh. Sorry, I ruined it.
Way to ruin the moment, Nevik. Way to ruin the moment.
So does Crimea produce for their 4th mech and then go start attacking on, well, either player, I guess, here while moving and building? And here's to produce for their 4th mech. Wow, do they have a lot of wood?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Probably a produce out of... Oh, a move out of Polania. I thought maybe they'd produce and then spread some of the workers out they had made.
I mean, I'm always I'm always hesitant to question Joy because he makes very unconventional things work at times. But I'm always terrified personally to get to turn 14, which is what's going to happen, and still just have 3 workers on the board.
Yeah. And right now with his bottom row actions, right, he'll obviously get deploy, he'll get enlist. If you get an objective in 2 combats, you still need those workers.
And he's in tier 2 now.
Yeah. I suppose with this coin lead, the tier 2, you can probably stall for a while, but we've seen that fail twice now.
Oh. We forgot about the worker on the mountain.
Oh, yeah.
So he couldn't have turned in balanced workforce. He might still have it.
Ah, yes.
Chat just pointed out.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Tier 3, here we come.
Yep. That spells bad news for the others.
Yeah. Still not in the lead yet, but oh goodness. Once they get those workers, just one more factory card use gets them into tier 3.
Mm-hmm.
They start spreading. It's gonna be really hard to catch that score for anybody.
Yeah.
Joy making a play this game for that first seed.
Yeah. So if you're Crimea, do you have to go attack Polania then? I mean, it's a 1v2 if you do, or 1v3 this turn. Yeah, there's no easy combats there. I'm just thinking, how do you disrupt Polania at this point?
No, and I may have said the wrong player. I don't know. I don't know if I meant Day as the one. Well, no, I just meant that Joy's making a play for that number 1 seed. Because we said BB's at 10. No, wait, BB's at
10. He
BB's
won the
at
first
10.
game.
Joy's won a game, so he's at 8. So if he pulls out a win here and finishes with the most, at least as many forests as BB, there's a good chance he ties BB on points and takes first seed away from him on tiebreakers. I don't know what the tiebreakers would look like between BB and Joy.
It looks like Joy would have it. They have the same number of game wins. So I think Joy wins it on tiebreakers if they end up tie at 10.
So yeah, Joy wants that first seed. Crimea is fighting for their life here and all. Quite possibly. Going for that build bonus too.
Loading up the factory.
Leaving the wood behind.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering. Wonder if that was a clicking error.
Crimea could have stolen the wood just to slow down Crimea. They had been. I mean, that's would have slowed down their progress to tier 3, but.
So Polania just got their 4th enlist, and we did not see balanced workforce.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible Joy likes to sit on objectives, right? So maybe he turns in the start of next turn instead.
Yeah, but you can't get more workers. Is balanced workforce end of turn, or is it just any time?
I think it's any time. I think you can turn that in start of the turn, and then produce workers. He also traded for 2 metal, so he's gonna empty deploy for coin.
Yeah. Why not?
You can see a tier 3 Polania with 30 coin. Crimea just center of the board on lockdown here.
I think they just went to max. No, not quite to max build bonus. They need to border that forest tunnel if they want max build bonus.
Yeah, but they have the worker on the mountain there to do it.
See, this is where, in my opinion, waiting this long to get more workers as Polania hurt you. Lonnie went to 6 workers there. Why do you think they went to 6 instead of 5? Is it because another factory card use gets them 13 anyway, even spending a pop on a produce? Usually I see people decline that last worker and go to 5.
It lets them spread more also. Well, they went to 7 workers, not 6.
7.
And so now you open yourself up to picking up a worker from an encounter. Because there's still potentially 3 encounters they could legitimately hit. Pick up a worker from an encounter, and then you don't have to produce again.
That's true. I've already seen one of those.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many there are in the deck.
A couple. I can check real quick.
Okay, Rusty is starting to help police Crimea a little bit. Crimea at 3 stars with yeah, I still wonder why Crimea left all these resources here. Melania can factory card these resources now and still be in tier 3.
There are 10 encounters where you can get a worker.
Oh wow,
having error.
I had no idea there were that many.
Yeah. So Polania's got a decent chance if they hit 3 more encounters, there's a very solid chance in there that they're able to get a worker.
Okay, Crimea with 1 more build.
It's a build star.
And if they turn in an objective and a combat, they end.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what did we just see? We saw
a bolster for power with a pop and then an upgrade.
Crimea perhaps thinking they need this
upgrade. They need
triple
coin
move to grab a combat. Up by 9 right now. This is a money turn for Polania, I think. I mean, tier 3.
Tier 3, hope for a
potentially
good encounter.
3 more
you want a worker
territories.
from the encounter.
So that's 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 12. That's, you can go to 66 right here. Your Polania. Just by dropping a worker on this farm, this forest, and then moving to that lake. They're going to forgo the farm. Not sure why. Oh, they're doing the triple move.
Well, and they wanted just that single worker on the forest.
Right, of course. I thought we'd see a factory move and them going to tier 3.
I thought so too.
Deploy. I mean, even without the move to tier 3, they're only 1 behind.
Yeah. And I don't think Crimea can end.
Crimea has a triple move now.
Yeah, but they need to go. They can go a 2v2 and a 1v2 against Russ.
They can go
I don't think that's gonna be enough.
3v2 in 2 different places, can't they?
Oh, I was saying in 1 turn can they end?
Well, they've got a triple move.
Mm-hmm.
And if Russ doesn't take their food or their wood, Crimea can build the last building.
Crimea has wood in 2 spots. They're safe from
Yeah, I see it.
not being able to build.
And you've got 3 combat cards you can spend with 1 left over to build the building. And take the rest of that build bonus. Russ has got a police Crimea this turn. I mean, all this
part of that
assumes
policing.
Crimea has an objective they can get, right? Because they're not going to pick up 2 combats this turn.
So they can. Crimea could have get rich. They could pick up 3 oil. They could have. Do they have diversify?
I don't see a farm.
No, not on a farm.
But they could move to 1.
But they could move to 1. If they would have had King of the Hill, they would have turned that in a long time ago, I think.
Did they have the most power? Oh, well, they did.
They do right now.
They did last
and
turn.
They did earlier, too. Unless that's why they're keeping the factory on lockdown, trying to hold that one and keep it as a surprise.
Rusty had taken some time with this turn. He can tell Crimea's possibly ending here.
Yeah.
Maybe trying to decide if it's worth it to take that wood. Interesting.
No, now Polania can't produce for their 8th worker.
You think Rustviet's playing for that first seed too? Trying to make sure Polania doesn't get the win? Rustviet's through. Maybe he's not worried about Crimea winning. Kind of metagaming, possibly.
Yeah.
One thing moving to that village does is it takes away a potential combat for Crimea.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe trying to simultaneously release both. We do have the triple move upgraded for Russ, so we're looking at 2 more movement actions.
One of the moves has to be taking the 5 wood there, right? Especially because you set yourself up for potentially having another forest square later, and you can bottom row build after your move.
Mm-hmm. Which with the neighboring to tunnels, you don't have a. You can build on the tundra. That neighbors 2 tunnels, so that would net you 4 coins.
You build on the Polania's village you just took.
drop a mine on Polania's village.
Yeah.
The art of trolling.
Exactly. Because then you probably want to save, if you get another building, you want to save your own oil tunnel.
Oh, hello. Okay, Virtual Destructor points out that a build would give Polania tier 3.
They're going to get tier 3 either way. I wouldn't be worried about that. Russ safeguarding the resources here.
Might even want to give Polania tier 3 this turn. It possibly keeps Crimea from ending.
Sure. I suppose if they steal the food or the wood from... No, that's not enough wood for Polania for them to build.
Yeah. I think you have to win this if you're Polania, right?
Yeah, 2v3. But that's... Well, it sucks you have all power, but none of your other units are susceptible then.
Crimea is building anyway, so Polania gets tier 3 regardless. None says. That's a good point, because unless it's not necessarily true. If they have an objective they can turn in at the beginning of the turn, they would get the combat at the bottom of the move action, and then the bottom row action to build would end the game.
That'd be sneaky.
Yeah, it would. Then the popularity wouldn't pass to Polania because the build would be the 6 star. I doubt that's how it's going to play out, but it certainly could. So, Crimea has an objective here.
But they'd have to have one of the ones that they both have achieved and that you can turn in beginning of turn. I'm not sure they have that.
Yeah.
Alright, they don't have foundations, they don't have balanced workforce. They don't have common man.
Okay, how many points does Polania get? Polania gets 11 coins and goes to 72 if Crimea builds and turns in the objective after the build. So Crimea can pick up 3 stars here, that's 9. And an extra territory, it's 10, 11.
Plus an extra 3 points on the build bonus. It's 14.
And then they lose 1 from the resources.
Mm-hmm.
But then they gain a coin from the bottom row action of build. I think if they've got an objective, I think they have it. Pretty close. No, because they send Polania. No, we already accounted for Polania going to tier 3.
Yeah.
Doing the math right now, I think. You only get 2 coins for the build bonus. No, 3, you're right.
No, 3. Goes from
1,
6
2,
to 9.
3, 4, 5, 6 goes.
They build on the factory
3
mountain.
more, yeah. Thomas asked, Rusviet should not have taken those territories from Polania to prevent Crimea from ending. Yeah, we were speculating that maybe Rusviet wants Crimea to win this game. Just
Wonder if Crimea is hoping for help. They might need help from that encounter, for all we know. Or that's 3 oils.
3 tundras.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I mean.
Ooh.
Oof.
Is this game? 3 tundras. Food's a wash. $2 in popularity. 68. Build bonus does it for them. No.
Oh,
No
no.
objective.
And so they didn't build either. To keep Polania out of tier 3, which Polania just gets it on their own anyway, right? But I guess it keeps them from 5 stars, otherwise Polania would suicide into them.
Yeah. Gotta be the reason. So if you're Polania, do you pick up 2 territories by pulling those workers around the back of Albion's territory there? Or do you take the character and just go to maybe the village encounter?
Yeah.
Which you're vulnerable to a wayfare from Crimea if you do that. Yeah, Polania is going to factory card none. It's just a question of where do they move.
Yeah.
You think Polania is regretting it being at not being at full workers right now?
But again, you go to that encounter, you got a 1 in 4 shot at picking up a worker.
Looks like they're just going to go for the territory expansion.
Yeah. Well,
2
at tier 3,
territories.
that's a big boost.
Yeah, that's going to put them about up by 12. No. I consolidate there.
Well, you have no power, so you can use 3 combat cards. And Crimea can only come at you 2v3 or 1v3 then. Oh.
You had a pop to give.
Yeah. What they just turn in?
3 mountains, I think.
3 mountains.
That explains why they went through the tundra there.
Yep.
Okay, what's the lead now? Claudia up by 13. Mia, that turning in that star was pretty huge. Okay, Russ. 2 combats and an objective. Would it do it? No, Russ looks out of this.
Take that wood hex away from Joy.
Melania is still up by 11. And Crimea possibly about to lose the factory here.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Russ can't take the factory here. Oh, Crimea goes to... I don't understand.
That puts him at 5 stars, but not 6. He's hoping to suck some power to be able to win on the factory.
I don't understand that move from Russ at all.
Unless it was to take away the Polania forest, and the combats are just, whatever to throw in. Because then, right now from the forest challenge, BB would be tied with Joy because he took one away, and he's used 30 or 24 seconds less than Joy in this game.
Well, assuming Crimea wins this combat on the factory, this is GG, right? Crimea ends.
No, Crimea's got 2 combats already.
Next turn, though, they build.
They just moved.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my interface is messed up. None of the previous actions are grayed out.
I've got the same issue. Oh, no, now it fixed itself.
Yeah, there it is. Melania with 27 coins, amazingly with 77 total score, only on 5 territories. With 4 stars. I'm kind of surprised no one's taken that wood.
Yeah.
I guess no one needed it.
So what does Crimea do here? Spread their factory move?
Bump another Melania worker, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And Polania can retake their... Oh no, I guess I can't from Rust, because Rust can play 2 combat cards. I guess Polania could go a 2v1 against Russ on their forest.
Melania's got to stall, unless they can end somehow. Is there a way they can end?
No, you're not going to pick up a combat and a worker in the same turn.
Oh, yeah.
Not with your character unable to reach an encounter.
And they can't bump Crimea workers.
Nope, not this turn.
Double attack Crimea on the village. There's none. Do that. Gives you 5 points. You need Russ to bump some Crimea workers.
Yeah, remember, Russ might not be interested in letting in having Crimea not win.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. There are no Rusviet has one.
The Wood Hex, yeah.
Yeah, would that put them tied on the challenge, him and Joy?
Yep, and Rusviet's 2 minutes up on Joy now.
Yeah.
In game 3 time used.
None says double attack Crimea on the village. It's a 9-point move and he can spread a worker. 13 points.
Yep.
Where's the worker spread?
So you have...
There it is.
Oh, no, there's only one... I don't think you can get the worker spread.
I don't see the worker spread, but maybe I missed something.
Oh, you could worker spread with the one that's in the lake down by Saxon. You could just drop it off somewhere.
Oh yeah, I missed that down there in the...
Or Polania could move their mountain worker to the Nordic forest to regain the lead in the Lost in the Woods.
Mountain Nordic. Oh yeah, I see up there on the top. He's gonna take the territory though, which I think he needs. The other thing he could have done is move the farm. Right. Other thing he could have done, I think he was afraid of getting those resources stolen out from under him though.
I agree.
We saw him use that method. Oh, he goes up by 15. He needs a worker though.
Yeah. So is there anything Russ can do to get back in this? I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Russ is out. The hard thing for Crimea is he might be playing 2v1 right now. Though Russ is back on the factory.
Wonder why.
Something to
The
do.
factory hope.
So, for me, it doesn't have the factory card on cooldown. It's kind of playing armchair quarterback here, but if instead of moving the character to that lake, Polania had moved a worker to that village, and then the mech to the mountain or the... Well, they can still do that though. They can factory card and put that worker on the Saxony village and then end the next turn with a produce.
Yep.
None. He can produce if he picks up a pop out of the factory
card to
card.
give him a pop. But he won't have power to produce. Everyone's at 0 power right now.
Oh yeah, that is true.
That's why I say you use the factory card, go get that village encounter, and you hope for a worker or a bunch of pop. So Polania up 23 right now. Is there anything Crimea can do to get back in this? All their units are in their base.
Yeah. You can get pop star. None says.
Yeah, well that's what I was thinking for Polania. that he might need that to end.
13, 14, 15, 1 off the encounter. That's 3 more turns. Ending in turn 21. Unless you get lucky. You get 3 pop off the encounter, right?
Or if you get 2 pop, you can trade for pop your next turn as Polania.
Because that would put him at 15, 16, 17. Yeah. That opens up the options.
1 pop and an upgrade. You could upgrade, gain pop, and trade for 2 pop then. Or you pick up the worker in the encounter. I think there's a lot of ways that encounter can get you to win either this turn or next turn.
Margin is 11.
After. Now you probably move to the Tagawa. Oh.
Lonnie with camaraderie. Rusviet with 0 power and 0 combat cards.
Yeah.
Lonnie goes to 15 pop. Camaraderie means no popularity loss. And for me, I can potentially retake the factory with their factory card. They didn't just use it, did they? No, they did the triple move.
No, they did the triple move.
33 lead right now.
$23.
23.
94 to 71.
Retaking that factory is 18 swing. Can put you ahead, but no, because you give up 1 territory, so it's a 16 swing. I'm ready to see how this ends. I got my kid's birthday party starting in about 13 minutes.
Yeah, I can't believe this is going almost 3 hours.
Definitely the longest set of the tournament.
Yeah. If BB doesn't hurry up, he might lose the time advantage, which is that set tiebreak here. Because right now, he and Joey are tied for the Lost in the Woods bonus. So I think that's what he should be focusing on now, given that I don't think it's...
And Joey can pick up an extra wood space and Nordic space, as you pointed out earlier, that Rusviet can't touch.
Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, if Rusty moves, he can pick up the wood space in Polania's base there. But out of Polania, don't you think you'd see a trade for pop and then a factory card move to get the pop star and end it?
I guess you can't move with the factory. But I don't think you can spread much. You can't spread much anyway.
No.
Got 4 workers on home base now, and you can't. There's no way to get them out.
The only spread you could do is that worker down, getting the worker off the lake, down by Saxony. I guess the other option is you do a move the character to the encounter, get the worker off that lake, pick up a pop from the encounter, and then factory move next time, or you get 3 pop or the worker or whatever from the encounter and just end it there. Those are your other
a regular
paths.
move followed by a factory move to an encounter, which ends it.
I'm saying even a regular move. With a regular move, they can get their character to the Tagawa mountain encounter.
Mm-hmm.
You minimum pick up 1 pop, so you know you're only a factory move away, and it's possible you either pick up 3 total pop, or you pick up a worker, either of which would end the game.
Right, that would work. It would also work to do a regular move action and then factory to encounter and pick up 3 pop between the factory card and the encounter. So he's got some options for sure.
He just factory moved last turn, though. So that one's not available.
Right. The regular move this turn.
Yeah. And Russ is really taking their time here.
Yeah, Rusviet just dropped below Polani in that tiebreaker, as you pointed out.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, BB, what you got? Virtual Destructor says, happy birthday to FOMOF Jr. Thank you, Virtual Destructor. I appreciate that.
You can only beat him by 20 in Scythe for his birthday then?
This has got to be BB's extension. So this is the last turn of this length we'll see out of him.
Yeah, but even then the extensions are supposed to be 3 minutes or less.
RNG asks, by the way, what's your score in the prelim FOMOF? I am at 7 points. So I need to pick up my game 3s in about, or my game 4s in about a week. I need to pick up, I'm in a set with Nevik here actually. So he's got to let me have at least 1 point for me to advance. I've asked him really nicely, but so far he's not committed.
Well, because I also need at least 1 point too.
Hey, just priorities, man. Priorities. Alright, Adigius says Polania can also bump Rust Worker off Wood Hex and then move to Nordis Base Worker to Wood Hex. Yes, they can. That puts them farther away from the popularity star.
Yeah.
That looks like the only viable star for him right now. Come on, Rustviet. Okay, here we go.
Bumping Crimea. Interesting. Oh, I guess he wants that Wood Hex. Now Russ has the lead in Wood Hexes.
Well, that hurt Crimea.
Yeah, I mean this is Polania's game. It's a formality now.
For me, I just can't do much more with their score.
Nope.
Now Crimea can't even retake
encounter.
the factory.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just ending. No?
Nope.
Upgrading.
Factory card upgrade. I'd probably go for the Saxony encounter then.
Deny it to Polania? I don't know how much that does, though. Because Polania can take, as you pointed out earlier, the Tagawa Mountain encounter.
Yeah. I don't know. Or either that or you come get the free combat off Rust to set up to be able to take the factory next turn.
Take a free combat off of Russ on this Tundra.
Yep.
Take the factory back next turn. Since Polania can't end. Unless they go for that encounter. If you go for that encounter with Polania and you don't get the 3 popularity, then for me, it can elect to steal those resources from you next turn.
Yeah, but they either get that, they either get you there or they get you a factory that can't get you on both.
$26. Alright. No, good move here. Leave those resources with the mech on the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expose the resources and hope for 3 popularity.
Or a worker. Remember, a worker would do it
Or
too.
a worker. Or a worker. Assuming you don't have to ever pay pop for the worker, do you?
I don't think so. But even if you did, it wouldn't be.
Yeah, you got to.
Option
You got
1.
it.
There we go.
You got it. That's game. So where are we on the challenge point?
So BB picked up 2, and Joy picked up 1 because he did move up to the Nordic wood. I think that's it.
That puts they tie, right? And Joy wins the tiebreaker with less time spent, right? On my screen, I see. Looks like Russ Viet having spent 38 minutes. I'm having to pull this screen back out and forth, and 41 minutes for Melania left on the hour. So I think our final result is Russ Viet pulls a point. Polania pulls 3 points, putting him probably in first seed so far. And Mia pulls no points, staying at 7, and essentially praying that that he gets through and that the tiebreakers go his way. Well, these were great games. Nevik, thanks so much for joining me. It's always fun to get 2 people on a stream, and it's fun to get 2 people on camera, just to add that extra level of personalness to the stream. So thanks for joining me, and I thoroughly enjoyed these games.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun. It was fun streaming with you, Vomov.
Yeah, man. I'll see you next week in our game. So
yeah, sounds good.
Thanks for watching, guys. Great games. I hope you enjoyed them, and we'll see you guys later.